I'd always thought my life with Emily was something carved out of a dream, a quiet, steady rhythm that played like a familiar song. We'd been married for 12 years, built a home in the suburbs with a wraparound porch, and filled it with laughter, late-night talks, and the scent of her lavender candles. She was a graphic designer, freelancing from home, while I worked long hours as a structural engineer, shaping skylines one beam at a time. Our days were predictable, comforting, until they weren't. It started with small things so subtle I barely noticed at first. A lingering glance at her phone, a quick swipe to close a message when I walked into the room, a new perfume that clung to her skin like a stranger's shadow. I brushed it off as paranoia. Work had been grueling, and exhaustion has a way of twisting your thoughts into knots. But then came the Friday she said she was meeting a client downtown. A last-minute thing, she'd claimed, her voice light but her eyes darting away. She kissed me goodbye, her lips soft but fleeting, and drove off in her little blue hatchback. I stood at the window, watching the taillights disappear, a hollow ache settling in my chest. That night, she didn't come home until after midnight. Her excuse was a tangled mess. Client dinner ran late, traffic was a nightmare, her phone died. I nodded, swallowing the unease, because I loved her. I trusted her. She crawled into bed, her back to me, and I stared at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the plaster until sleep finally took me. The next morning, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. 2 glasses of wine, a steak dinner, a restaurant I'd never heard of. She'd said it was a client singular. So why 2 glasses? I held the paper in my hand, my thumb rubbing the ink until it smudged, and told myself it was nothing. People shared drinks with clients all the time. But the seed was planted, and it grew roots faster than I could uproot it. Over the next few weeks, the signs piled up like debris after a storm. Late nights, vague excuses, a new silk scarf I hadn't bought her draped over the armchair. I started paying attention, really paying attention, and the more I saw, the less I recognized the woman I'd married. My Emily, with her messy bun and paint-stained jeans, was slipping away, replaced by someone polished, secretive, distant. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed proof, something concrete to hold up against the lies she fed me with that same sweet smile. So I waited, watched, and let the suspicion coil tighter around my heart. It was a Tuesday when I found it, the thread that unraveled everything. Emily had left her laptop open on the kitchen table, a rare slip for someone who'd started guarding it like a vault. She was in the shower, the hum of water masking my footsteps as I crossed the room. I didn't plan to snoop. I told myself I was just checking the weather. But there it was, a chat window minimized but still glowing on the screen. The name at the top hit me like a punch. Mark. Mark Grayson, her old college boyfriend, the one she'd laughed about years ago, saying he was ancient history. I clicked, my pulse hammering in my ears, and the messages spilled out. Hundreds of them, stretching back months. They weren't friendly catch-ups. They were intimate, playful, laced with a familiarity that made my stomach churn. Last night was incredible, he'd written 3 days ago. You're still the best thing I've ever tasted, she'd replied. My hands shook as I scrolled, each word a blade twisting deeper. Photos too, her in a hotel room, hair tousled, lips parted in a smile I hadn't seen in years. Him beside her, shirtless, grinning like he'd won something. Me. He'd won me, or at least the part of me I'd given to her. I heard the shower stop and snapped the laptop shut, retreating to the living room with my breath caught in my throat. She emerged, towel-wrapped and humming, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. You okay, babe? She asked, tilting her head. I nodded, forcing a smile, but my mind was racing. Mark lived 2 hours away, or so she'd said back then. Was he closer now? Had he been here in my house while I was at work? I couldn't ask without tipping my hand, and I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. That night, I barely slept, replaying every moment of the past few months. Every late night, every dodged question. By morning, I'd decided I'd follow her. If she was meeting him, I'd see it with my own eyes. I called in sick, parked my truck a block from our house, and waited. At noon, she left, dressed in a skirt I didn't recognize, her steps quick and purposeful. I tailed her, keeping my distance, until she pulled into a cafe parking lot. There he was, Mark, taller than I remembered, waiting by the door. She ran to him, and they embraced, her arms around his neck, his hands low on her waist. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened, watching them disappear inside, laughing like I didn't exist. I didn't confront her that day. Rage burned through me, hot and blinding, but I held it in, letting it simmer into something colder, sharper. Revenge wasn't a word I'd ever lingered on before, but now it felt like the only thing keeping me upright. I drove home, my mind spinning with possibilities, screaming, smashing his face in, walking out and leaving her to rot in her lies. But those were too simple, too quick. She'd taken my trust, my love, my life, and twisted them into something grotesque. I wanted her to feel that, to live it, to choke on it the way I was choking now. Over the next few days, I played the part of the oblivious husband, kissed her goodbye, asked about her day, smiled through the bile rising in my throat. She didn't suspect a thing, too wrapped up in her secret world to notice the shift in mine. I started digging deeper. Her laptop was locked now, but her phone wasn't. One night, while she slept, I slipped it from her nightstand and scrolled through her texts. Mark again, plans for the weekend, a hotel name, the Crestwood. I memorized it, along with every detail I could glean. His car, a black Audi, his job, real estate, his habits, late riser, coffee addict. I searched him online, found his address, his social media, smug posts about living his best life. I wanted to know him, to understand the man who'd stolen my wife, because knowing him would make destroying him easier. Emily too. She wasn't innocent in this. She'd chosen it, cultivated it, reveled in it. I thought about exposing them, publicly, brutally, but that wasn't enough. I needed something personal, something that would linger like a scar. By Friday, I had the outline of a plan. It wasn't fully formed, but it was vicious, deliberate, and mine. I'd follow them to that hotel, gather evidence, and then something that would make them regret ever crossing me. I packed a bag, camera, binoculars, a notebook, and waited for Saturday. Saturday morning, Emily announced she was visiting a friend for the weekend. A flimsy lie she didn't even try to sell hard. I waved her off, my voice steady, and watched her drive away. I gave her a head start, then followed, the hotel's address plugged into my GPS. The Crestwood was an hour out. A sleek, modern place with tinted windows and overpriced valet. I parked across the street, slouched low in my truck, and waited. She arrived first, her car pulling into the lot at 2:17 p.m. Mark's Audi rolled in 10 minutes later. They met in the lobby. I could see them through the glass, her hand brushing his arm, his lips grazing her cheek. My camera clicked, capturing every moment, the lens steady even as my hands trembled. They checked in, disappeared upstairs, and I sat there, staring at the building like it held the answers to every question I'd never wanted to ask. Hours passed. I didn't eat, didn't move, just watched. At dusk, they emerged, dressed for dinner, her arm looped through his. I followed them to a restaurant nearby, took more photos, her laughing, him leaning close, their hands entwined under the table. Each image was fuel, stoking the fire inside me. Back at the hotel, they vanished into their room again, the lights flicking on behind drawn curtains. I stayed until midnight, then drove home, the silence of the house deafening without her. Sunday I returned, same spot, same routine. More photos, more proof. Her in a robe on the balcony, him behind her, their silhouettes pressed together. By the time she came home Sunday night, tired but glowing, I had a dossier of their betrayal. Good weekend? I asked, casual as ever. Yeah, relaxing, she said, kissing my cheek. I smiled, nodded, and added her lie to the list of things I'd make her pay for. With the evidence in hand, I refined my plan. Exposure was too tame. I wanted ruin. Slow, deliberate, inescapable. Mark was first. His real estate career relied on reputation, so I'd dismantle it. I spent Monday researching his clients, his deals, his weaknesses. A few anonymous emails to his biggest investors, photos attached, vague hints of unprofessional conduct, would plant doubt. I'd pose as a disgruntled buyer, file complaints with his licensing board, twist the knife until his business crumbled. Emily was trickier. She freelanced, so no job to tank, but her pride, her social circle, those were fair game. I'd start with her family, her friends, the ones she bragged to about our perfect marriage. A package of photos, a letter detailing her double life, mailed to her parents, her sister, her best friend from college. But that was just the beginning. I wanted her to feel trapped, isolated, like I'd felt watching her with him. I'd sell the house out from under her, quietly through a lawyer, let her come home to an empty shell. Then the final blow, I'd vanish. New city, new name, no trace. She'd wake up one day with nothing. No husband, no home, no lies to hide behind. I'd build it all meticulously, starting tomorrow. For now, I slept beside her, her breathing soft and even, and dreamed of the wreckage I'd leave behind. The next morning, I woke before dawn, the weight of my plan pressing against my ribs like a second heartbeat. Emily slept beside me, her face peaceful, oblivious to the storm I was about to unleash. I slipped out of bed, brewed coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, the photos from the hotel glowing on the screen. Mark's smug grin stared back at me, and I felt a surge of cold determination. I started with him. His real estate firm's website listed his email, his office number, even a few client testimonials I could use. I created a burner account, anonymous, untraceable, and drafted the first message. "Thought you should know who you're really working with," I typed, attaching a photo of him and Emily on the hotel balcony, her robe slipping off one shoulder, his arms around her. I sent it to 3 of his top clients, names I dug up from public records. Then I called his office from a blocked number, posing as a furious buyer. Claimed he'd botched a deal, cost me thousands, threatened to sue. I hung up before they could ask too many questions, my voice steady despite the adrenaline pumping through me. By noon, I'd filed a complaint with the state licensing board, alleging ethical misconduct, with a vague nod to personal entanglements. It wouldn't hold up long, but it'd stir the pot, make him sweat. Emily left for a meeting around 10. Another lie, I was sure, so I used the time to dig deeper into her world. Her phone was locked now, but I remembered her sister's number. I drafted a letter, short but brutal. "Emily's not who you think she is. See for yourself." I printed it, tucked it with a stack of photos, her and Mark at dinner, laughing, touching, and sealed it in an envelope addressed to her parents' house. I'd mail it tomorrow, along with copies to her best friend and her college roommate. Let them see the real her, the one who'd gutted me without a second thought. That night, she came home late again, humming as she kicked off her shoes. "Busy day?" I asked, stirring pasta on the stove. "Yeah, exhausting," she said, brushing past me. I smiled, nodded, and pictured the chaos I'd already set in motion. It was just the beginning. By Wednesday, the cracks were showing. Emily's phone buzzed constantly. Texts, calls, a flurry of notifications she silenced with a frown. "Work stuff?" she muttered when I asked. But her eyes flicked away, and I knew better. Her sister had gotten the package. I'd tracked it online, saw it delivered that morning. I imagined the scene. Her parents opening the envelope, the photos spilling onto their oak dining table, her mother gasping, her father's face hardening. Emily hadn't mentioned it yet, but the tension in her shoulders told me she'd heard something. Mark, too, was feeling the heat. I'd checked his firm's online reviews, new ones popping up, 1-star rants about unreliable service and shady dealings. They weren't all me. I'd only planted the seeds, but others were watering them. A quick web search showed a forum post from a supposed client, hinting at personal drama, tanking a sale. I leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee, and let the satisfaction settle in. That afternoon, I met with a lawyer, quietly at a cafe across town. I laid out my plan to sell the house, asked how fast we could move. "With your name on the deed, it's doable," he said, scribbling notes. We'll list it discreetly, cash buyer if possible. She won't know until it's done. I nodded, handed over the paperwork, and felt another piece lock into place. Emily came home that night, distracted, snapping at me over nothing. Burnt toast, a misplaced remote. What's wrong? I asked, all innocence. Just stressed, she said, rubbing her temples. I didn't push. Let her stew in it, I thought. Later, I overheard her on the phone in the bedroom, voice low and sharp. No, I don't know who sent it. Just handle it, Mark. I stood in the hall, listening, my pulse steady now. They were scrambling, and I was the ghost pulling the strings. Before bed, I mailed the next batch, her best friend, her old roommate, each envelope a quiet promise of ruin. I slept soundly for the first time in weeks, dreaming of empty rooms and shattered lives. Thursday brought a call from the lawyer, good news. A cash buyer, an investor looking for a quick flip, had bitten. We can close in 10 days, he said. She won't see it coming. I told him to push it through, no delays. The house, our house with its creaky floors and the porch swing she loved, was just another piece of collateral now. I'd already started packing, subtle things she wouldn't notice. Old books, my tools, a suitcase stashed in the garage. I'd be gone before the ink dried, a phantom slipping out of her life. Emily was unraveling faster now. Her phone rang at breakfast, her sister again, and she stepped outside to take it, her voice rising in the yard. It's not true, Jen, I swear. I heard through the window. She came back pale, hands trembling, and I played dumb. Everything okay? I asked, pouring her coffee. Family stuff, she mumbled, avoiding my eyes. I nodded, hiding my smirk behind my mug. Mark's world was crumbling too. I checked his social media, saw the vague, defensive post. Rumors don't define me. Keep pushing forward. His inbox was probably flooded with questions, his clients pulling back. I sent another round of emails from a new burner, this time to his competitors, dangling hints of opportunities if they dug into his deals. Let them eat him alive, I thought. That night, Emily tried to bridge the gap, curled up next to me on the couch, her head on my shoulder. I've been distant, huh? She said, voice soft. Work's been crazy. I stroked her hair, murmured something vague, and felt nothing but ice where love used to be. She was clinging to the lie, and I was counting the days until it collapsed. The lawyer texted late. Offers in. We're on track. I deleted it, kissed her forehead, and planned my next move. Friday, I almost broke. Emily came home early, eyes red, clutching her phone like a lifeline. We need to talk, she said, her voice shaking. For a second, I thought she'd confess. Spill it all, beg forgiveness, force my hand. I braced myself, ready to drop the mask, but she didn't. My parents got some weird mail, she said instead, sitting across from me at the table. Photos, a letter. They think I'm with someone. She looked at me, searching, testing. I kept my face neutral, leaned forward. What kind of photos? I asked, feigning concern. Just me and a guy. From work stuff. They're blowing it out of proportion. Her lie was flimsy, her hands twisting in her lap. I could have called her out, dumped the evidence on the table, watched her squirm, but I didn't. Not yet. That's crazy, I said, squeezing her hand. We'll figure it out. She nodded, relieved, and I let her think she'd dodged it. The truth would hit harder later, when she had nowhere to run. After she went to bed, I checked the cameras I'd hidden. Tiny things tucked in the living room, the bedroom. They'd caught her pacing, whispering into her phone. He doesn't suspect. We just need to be careful. Mark's voice crackled back, tense. My boss is asking questions. This is getting messy. I saved the footage, another brick in the wall I was building around them. The house sale was moving, documents signed, closing set for next week. I told Emily I was working late tomorrow. A cover to meet the buyer, finalize details. She didn't question it, too distracted by her own chaos. I lay beside her that night, her breathing shallow, and felt the clock ticking down. One more week, and she'd have nothing left to hold on to. Saturday, I met the buyer, an older guy in a cheap suit, all business. We walked the property, him nodding at the floors, the windows, me pretending it didn't gut me to sell it. "Quick close, no fuss," he said, shaking my hand. I signed the last papers, pocketed the deposit, and drove away, the house no longer mine. Emily was out. "Another friend visit," she'd said, so I packed more. Clothes, photos, my grandfather's watch. The essentials fit in 2 bags, stashed in my truck. I'd leave Monday, after the final blow. That afternoon, I sent the last packages. Her boss, her biggest client, each with a note. "Your designer's personal life might interest you." The photos were damning, her career now a target too. Mark's firm had posted a temporary leave notice on their site. My complaints had hit hard. I smiled, imagining him scrambling, blaming her. Sunday, she came home late, face drawn, and tried to talk again. "I think someone's out to get me," she said, voice small. "Work's a mess. My family won't stop calling." I hugged her, murmured comfort, and felt the lie of it all settle between us. "It'll blow over," I said, knowing it wouldn't. That night, I finalized my exit, new apartment leased 2 states away. Job offer lined up, name change paperwork ready. Monday morning, I'd be gone, and she'd walk into an empty house, her world in ashes. I slept beside her one last time, dreaming of silence and the sweet, cruel taste of justice. Sunday night stretched long and heavy, the air in our bedroom thick with the weight of what I knew and she didn't. Emily tossed beside me, restless, her phone lighting up every hour with messages she didn't answer. I lay still, eyes tracing the familiar shadows on the ceiling, memorizing the last moments of this life I'd built with her. My bags were packed, hidden in the truck, my escape route etched into my mind. North, 2 states away, a fresh start where no one knew my name or the wreckage I'd leave behind. I timed it perfectly. The house sale would close tomorrow, the buyer's movers arriving while she was out. She'd come home to nothing, no furniture, no husband, no explanation. I'd left a single note, short and cold, taped to the fridge. "I know everything. Goodbye." It wasn't much, but it'd be enough to twist the knife. She murmured in her sleep, something soft and incoherent, and for a fleeting second, I remembered the woman I'd married, her laugh, her warmth, the way she'd curl into me on lazy Sundays. That woman was gone, buried under lies and Mark's hands, and I felt no pity for the stranger beside me now. I didn't sleep, just waited, the clock ticking down to dawn. At 5 a.m., I slipped out of bed, showered quietly, and dressed in the dark. She didn't stir. I stood over her for a moment, watching her chest rise and fall, her face soft in the pre-dawn light. I could have woken her, screamed, demanded answers, but silence was sharper, crueler. I grabbed my keys, left the note, and walked out, the door clicking shut behind me. The street was still, the air crisp, and I drove away without looking back, the house shrinking in my rear view until it was nothing but a memory. I stopped at a diner an hour out, sipping coffee while the sun rose, my phone off to avoid her calls. If she even tried. By now, the movers would be there, emptying the house under the buyer's orders. I pictured it. The porch swing unhooked, the kitchen table hauled away, her lavender candles tossed into a box she'd never see. The lawyer had assured me it was legal, my name on the deed, my right to sell. She'd have no claim, no warning, just an empty shell where our life used to be. I checked my email, confirmation from the new landlord, keys waiting at my apartment. My job started in a week, a quiet engineering gig in a city she'd never find. I'd vanish, a ghost she couldn't chase. Around noon, I turned my phone on briefly, just to see. 3 missed calls, a dozen texts. "Where are you? What's going on?" "The house. Everything's gone. Please call me." I deleted them, powered it off again, and paid my bill. She'd found the note by now, I was sure, read it, felt the first stab of realization. Her family wouldn't help. They'd seen the photos, turned their backs. Her friends, her clients, same story. Mark might try to swoop in, but his own life was crumbling, his career on life support thanks to my anonymous prodding. I'd left them both with nothing to cling to but each other, and even that wouldn't last. I drove on, the miles stretching between me and her, each one a brick in the wall I'd built around my new beginning. By evening, I'd reached the new city, a small gray place with narrow streets and no history of us. The apartment was sparse, a one-bedroom with bare walls, but it was mine. I unpacked my bags, set my grandfather's watch on the nightstand, and sat on the edge of the bed, letting the silence settle. I didn't need to see her to know what was happening back there. She'd be pacing the empty house, calling my name, finding only echoes. The fridge with my note would stare back at her, the words sinking in. I know everything. She'd try my phone again, then her sisters, her parents, anyone who might listen. But the photos had done their work. Her mother's voice would be cold, her father's silent. Her best friend, her clients, all gone, their trust shattered by the evidence I'd mailed. Mark might call, but he'd be no savior. His firm was imploding, his clients fleeing, his reputation a punchline. I checked his social media one last time before deleting my accounts. A frantic post about taking time off, drowned in comments from angry buyers. They'd turn on each other soon. I knew, blaming, fighting, clawing at the scraps of their affair. I didn't feel joy exactly, but a grim satisfaction, like a job well done. I'd taken everything, her home, her stability, her pride, and left her to drown in the mess she'd made. That night, I slept in the new bed, the sheets stiff and unfamiliar, and dreamed of nothing at all. A week later, I started the new job, quiet, steady work, designing bridges for a firm that didn't ask questions. I changed my name legally now, a simple swap to my mother's maiden line. Untraceable unless you knew where to look. Emily wouldn't. She didn't have the resources, the will, or the allies anymore. I kept my phone off, my old life severed like a cut wire. But curiosity tugged at me, so I used a library computer to check. One last peek before letting it go. Her social media was gone, accounts deleted or locked. Mark's firm had a new notice. Under review pending investigation. The licensing board had bitten, my complaints sparking a formal probe. A real estate blog mentioned personal misconduct rumors. His name a cautionary tale. I searched her name next. Nothing direct, but a post from her sister caught my eye. Public and scathing. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. The family rift was complete. The house sale had cleared. Funds wired to a new account she'd never touch. I pictured her now, crashing with Mark, maybe in some cheap rental, their affair soured by stress and blame. Or alone, scrambling for freelance gigs no one would give her. Her portfolio tainted by the whispers I'd spread. Either way, she was trapped, her life a shadow of what it had been. I logged off, walked back to my apartment, and let the last threads of her slip away. Months passed, blending into a rhythm of work and quiet nights. The city grew familiar, coffee shops I liked, a park where I'd read on weekends. I didn't date, didn't reach out to old friends. Solitude was my shield, my reward. Emily and Mark were ghosts now, their fates a story I'd written and closed. I didn't check anymore, didn't need to. The revenge had been surgical, complete. Her home gone, her relationships fractured, her career dust. His too. His smug grin erased by the chaos I'd sown. I'd heard through a distant cousin, someone I trusted with my new number, that she tried to find me, called my old office, even hired a PI. But I'd covered my tracks too well. She'd hit dead ends, given up. I imagined her sometimes, staring at that note, replaying every lie she'd told, every moment she'd chosen him over me. It didn't haunt me, it fueled me. I'd rebuilt, carved a life from the ashes she'd left, and it was mine alone. One evening, walking home under a sky streaked orange and pink, I stopped by the river, watching the water ripple. I thought of her briefly, a flicker of memory, her smile, her voice, then let it drift away, carried off by the current. She'd betrayed me, and I'd buried her for it. Now I was free, standing on the other side of the ruin, whole in a way she'd never be again. I turned and kept walking, the horizon wide and open before me.